Hey everybody, welcome to another fly tying episode. I'm Sean Holsinger from HolsingersFlyShop.com. Today I'm bringing you my dry dropper caddis. This is one of the caddis patterns that I use when I like to dry dropper fish. I use a couple variations on this one, but this is definitely one of them. It floats well. Add a little bit of dry fly floating to it, and it floats like a cork. It does real well for you. And it's got a little bit of flash in it to catch the fish's eye, which is also not important, but I like it. So give this dry dropper caddis a try. You're gonna like it. It's a little bit, it's not a beginner style fly, but in a little bit of practice you'll be able to get it. And shows off a couple new materials that we carry at the shop, which is Semperfli dry fly Polyyarn, really cool stuff. And of course we're now carrying the Semperfli Nano silk, which works really great. I love Nano silk, can't say enough about it. So let's get into tying it. Here you're going to see it in the vise and then the material list to tie it. Alright guys, here you see the fly in the vise. Let's get into tying it. This is a really cool caddis pattern that floats real well. So, for starters, we're going to put our hook in the vise. Our hook is a Firehole 315 in a size 12, and I'll tie it in a 14 also. I want it to be a good floater, so I don't want real small because this is my dry dropper. This is my indicator on my dry dropper rig. So I'm going to start out with some thread. This is some black 12-aught nano silk from Semperfli. And we're just going to get that tied on there. Then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take 4 pieces of Glo-Brite. This is number 2 for the Keller, which is fluorescent pink. And we're just going to set that up on top, tie it down, and this is going to be my tail. So I'm just going to tie this back to the back, keeping it on top. Once I get her tied down there, I can cut this end off. And now I'm going to tie it a little bit around the bend on this curved caddis hook here. Alright, I like that. Right about there. Now I'm going to take and cut the tail off. To cut the tail, I'm going to follow the bend of the hook. Okay, this is just to give me a little bright spot on there. It's not really a tail. It's more of a little attractor. So next thing we're going to do is put a rib on for this fly. For the rib, I'm using some Flashabou. And this is Pearl Flashabou. I'm just going to cut a strand of it off and tie it down on the side of the hook. And I usually tie this one on my side. Tie it on the other, it doesn't matter. I'm going to wrap that back to the bend, and then I'm going to take a piece of Maxima. This is 6-pound test, and it doesn't need to be very long because it's just going to be a couple wraps. So I'm using some clear. This is just clear mono, and I'm going to tie it on the other side and tie it back to the tail. Alright. Now, for the body, we're using some natural gray SLF squirrel dub. And it doesn't take a lot. I don't want a real thick body here. So we're just going to dub this on. And I actually I like to go real thin on my dubbing. I always say what you want to do is change the color of your thread. And then I'll start at the front here and wrap my way back to the tail and spread it out just a little bit, and then I'll come back and fill in the gaps. And that way I keep a nice, if I do this thin to start with, I keep a nice thin body and I get it all covered. So there we go, I like that. Now I'm going to take my rib and wrap it forward. And this is just going to give me a little bit of extra flash in there, something to catch their eye. And we're just going to tie that off. Bring my thread in a little tighter so it's easier. Alright, now to protect that rib and so it doesn't get chewed up by the fish's teeth, we're going to counter rib with this mono. So I'm going to go the opposite direction with the mono, and that's going to lock everything in place. And there we got a nice flashy little simple body. Okay. And then we can trim the mono off. Now the next thing is a new product at the shop. And I'm going to tighten this up just a little bit more. There we go. Next thing is a new product at the shop. This is dry fly Polyyarn from Semperfli. Really cool stuff. This is cream. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut a strip of it, a couple inches long, and then I'm going to fold it in half. And there you can see it folded in half. And now it looks like it has I don't know, it's like a chenille, I guess is what it looks like. But it all brushes out, and that hardcore center there, what looks like a core center, brushes out. So I'm just going to take this, put the two ends together, like so, and take a dubbing brush, and I'm going to vigorously brush this out both ways. And then you're going to have a poly wing. Okay, there you go. You see it brushed out, then it becomes like a Polyyarn. And you get a nice blend of colors in there, which I really like. That's one of the reasons why I like this stuff so much. Now I'm going to tie this down, and as you can see where I dubbed it out, you can see where I pulled fibers back. What I want is where that color ends, and I want that color to end right above the hot spot on my fly. So I'm just going to tie this in. Alright. And then we're going to cut it off. That's going to make the wing on my fly, the underwing I should say. And now what I like to do is just take a touch more dubbing, and I mean just a tiny little bit. All we're going to do is cover up this bottom piece down here. You see how you're going to get the thread showing through, so we're going to hide that right now. Just going to clean that up a little bit. Okay, now we're going to have to take and we're going to make our deer hair wing. For a deer hair, I'm using some Stimulator hair here. This is natural. And I'm just going to take and trim off a small row. About half of the width of the deer hide is what I want. I'm going to make a nice row of it. Trim it off. So there you can see I got one row of it. I'm going to pinch all the ends together. And we're going to brush out the undercoat of this. You see how there's all this fluff and stuff in there. We're just going to brush all that out. Try to get the underfur out of there. And then I'm going to put this in the hair stacker. So we're just going to drop this in our hair stacker, get all the tips in there. Tip first, I should say. There we go. Drop it in, and then I'm just going to pound it on my hand, pound it on the table. However you like to do it. Doesn't make as much noise when you pound it on your hand. Then you lay it sideways, pull it out, and you have all of them lined up by the tip. So then we just pinch the tips. And we're going to transfer this to our fly. So I want this to go, again, right above that hot spot. So we're going to pinch her down right on top of the hook. And I'm going to pull my thread up through my fingers and then down through and lock it down. Now, one of the reasons why I like this Nano Silk is it's very strong. One of the bad things about this Nano Silk is it's very thin. So what it does is it will cut hair if you pull too hard. But it allows me to pull down and pinch pretty hard on this hair. So it's a double-edged sword here. You don't want to go too tight with it that you cut hair, but you also want to be able to lock it down. Then I'm just going to pull all those long butt sections out of the way, come back up here and wrap a head in. Whip finish your head. Now we have to trim all of this butt section. You see how you have a big mess here. So we're going to take and we're going to pull all these butt sections forward. And then once I get them all forward, I'm just going to cut them off, and this is going to make a nice little head. And we'll just trim all the other ones that are all the stragglers. Okay. Now our underwing, you see, is a hair long, so I want that just past there. And then we can tease it around a little bit. Do it with your brush. And there you go, you got a nice floating caddis pattern there that will make a great dry dropper caddis. You're going to need some floating on this or it will take on water, so just hit it with some high and dry, works great, or whatever you like to use. And there you go, good looking caddis. Alright guys, I hope you like that pattern. Like I said, it's not really a beginner level fly, but it's not a difficult one either. With a little bit of practice, you'll get it. You know, do 10 or 12 of them and you're going to have her down. So give it a try. This is one of my go-to dry dropper patterns. I don't really fish it a lot solo. I use it more as my indicator on my dry dropper, and I do it because they float so well. As always, guys, you need, use your floatant. Make sure it stays up on top. You're gonna have to dry them out. It's like any other. It's not, unsinkable. It's the Titanic. So it's gonna sink on you if you soak it up. You catch a couple fish. You just got to keep it dry, and like any other dry fly. So have fun fishing them. Right now, this time of year, I'm fishing a pattern just like this or this one, with the zebra midge under it. Or in our area, we have a lot of black fly larva. I'm dropping a white zebra midge underneath it, and that's what I'm catching fish on. Well, typically, right now, I'm still dealing with my broken foot, so getting lots of tie-in videos done, which is good for you guys. Thanks for watching, guys. If you need any of the material, as always, it's down in the material list below. I have links to the shop, and if you have any questions, you can reach me at holsingersflyshop@gmail.com. I love answering your questions, and thanks again for watching. Until next week when I bring you another video, I'm Sean Holsinger.